Hi everyone, we're the How To Girls, and today we'll be learning how to bake regular and gluten-free holiday cookies and how to decorate them with royal icing. Stay tuned and watch us duke it out to see which one of us makes the best cookies.
And if you're looking for more how-tos, be sure to subscribe because we got more on the way.
Liz is going to be making a regular sugar cookie recipe, and I'm going to be making one that's gluten-free. These recipes are actually very similar. They have almost exactly the same ingredients and almost exactly the same amount of those ingredients, but the key difference between them is that Liz is using regular wheat flour, and I'm using flour that's gluten-free and doesn't contain any wheat. What's our first step, Liz?
Well, for mine, the first step is to preheat the oven to...
Mine too!
Whoa! 350 degrees Fahrenheit, so let's go do that right now. Okay. And it's set, we're ready to go. And while that's preheating, we're gonna do the first thing with the whole...
So the first step for both of our recipes, actually, is to combine our butter and sugar. So Liz needs 1 cup of butter, while I only need half a cup. 1/2 cup of butter is equivalent to 1 stick. So I only need 1 stick of butter, while Liz needs 2.
This is a lot.
You'll see later. So we're gonna put our butter in. We wanna make sure that the butter is softened so that when we do go to mix it, it mixes a little more easily. You don't wanna just take butter straight out of the fridge and put it in to your bowl. We also both need 1 cup of sugar. So now we're each gonna measure out 1 cup. Please measure out over your bowls in case you accidentally spill things.
It's like an hourglass.
Yeah, I like to use these instead of the actual, hang on. Level it, shake it out back and forth to level it out a bit because you can add a little bit more. Don't skimp.
It's like a science experiment.
Baking is a science.
Okay.
All right, now dump it in. You're going to cream your butter and sugar together until it's smooth.
Okay, so...
Just flick. Not all the way. 1 or 2 steps up is good. Now push it in carefully. So the point is to cream the butter and the sugar together until it's smooth. So this is why you want your butter to be soft so that it can combine with the sugar more easily. Here we're really just whipping it. It doesn't look like I got it soft enough. You want to put it in the microwave?
Yeah.
All right, so it turns out our butter is not as soft as we thought it would be. So what we're going to do is we're just going to scoop it out and we're going to throw it in the microwave for about 5 seconds, see how much softer it gets, and then we're going to put it back in. Oh yeah, that is much better. So in the butter goes. Baking is love made edible. Forgot what. Yeah, also please don't wave your hand mixer all about because that is how things get all over the place.
But I'm a mad scientist!
See how it's starting to incorporate the sugar? Yeah. Alright, time out for 1 second. So our mixers are very, very full of butter, so we're just going to take the time to scrape it out. Alright, so it's mostly on the edges of the bowl now, so we're just gonna push everything back down so that it can be mixed.
Can you guys see how smooth that is? I hope, maybe.
Stand mixers are a baker's best friends. Even if you don't normally bake, they still come in handy for other things that you might need a mixer for, like if you're making mashed potatoes. They make life a lot easier so that you don't have to stand there and hold the hand mixer or use your spatula to mix it manually. Saves you a lot of time and effort, and while things are on your stand mixer, you can also go about doing other things or preparing the next step that you need. I'm just so in love with my stand mixer. I think it's the greatest Christmas present I ever got. I wanted to go on nailed it just so that I could try to win a stand mixer, but now I have one, although I still want to try nailed it. So with the stand mixer, I'm going to be using the flat beater attachment. This is one of the best attachments for cookie dough, but there are other attachments. There's a whisk, and there's also a dough hook if you're interested in making bread. Definitely makes life so much easier. So I'm going to put the attachment on, lower the head of the stand mixer and put it on. And just stand back and let it do its thing.
See, I had to do all the manual labor here. Kind of. I mean, that's still a little heavy and yeah. My wrist hurts now. I'm just a baby.
Alright, I'm going to turn the speed up a little higher so that it mixes in a little better. Alright, I think those are pretty well incorporated. I'm going to leave the attachment there for right now. So, mine looks a little different from Liz's because, again, we have different amounts of butter in right now. But it does look like it's been incorporated pretty well, so now we're going to move on to our next step. For Liz, this involves adding egg and vanilla extract, and for me, this involves adding an egg, vanilla extract, and some milk.
Professional. Haters gonna hate.
So the recipe that Liz is making initially says to add just 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and add half a teaspoon of almond extract, but we're not particularly crazy about almond extract, and I also don't have it on hand, so we're just going to add in an equivalent amount of vanilla extract. It's alright.
That's good.
Yeah. You might want to add a little more. I personally feel that you can be a little more heavy-handed with vanilla extract than the recipe says, just so that you make sure that your cookies or whatever it is that you're making has a nice taste to it. There we go. And in case you don't happen to have a teaspoon mixer on a teaspoon measuring cup on hand, or you don't have a tablespoon one on hand, 1 tablespoon is equivalent to 3 teaspoons. So I need 1 tablespoon milk. Get your beater in the bowl. Do not turn it on yet. And now beat. Alright, go at it a little more, and while you're doing that, I'm gonna go add Alright, so to avoid making a bit of a mess, I am just going to put my stand mixer attachment on a plate here so that it doesn't drip, and I'll put it back on when I come back again. So mine looks a little bit creamier because I did add a liquid milk. Alright.
This is my botched up mess.
Alright, so now you're gonna put it off to the side.
Okay.
And you are going to take a separate bowl to mix your dry ingredients. It's pretty common in baking to mix your wet and your dry ingredients separately. So now what you're going to do is you're going to combine baking powder with flour. It also says to add salt, but we did use salted butter, so we don't need to add extra salt into this. Again, make sure you do it over and be careful, especially with the baking powder, because it can go overboard. And you don't want to add too much baking powder because then things start to taste kind of grainy. No, only 2 teaspoons. So, did you add a full tablespoon? Didn't look like you hit all the way. Alright, so we are just going to take, here. I'm going to go dump this out and we're going to try it again.
Because I'm such a fail. Oh my gosh.
I wasn't very clear. See if you can scoop it in.
Here we go.
That helps to avoid a mess sometimes. You don't want a whole thing though, because you only need 2 teaspoons, so you only need that to be 2/3 of the way full.
So this is bad or good?
You have too much. Okay. So dump a little bit out. Alright, I think that's alright now.
This is never good at measuring.
Alright, now you need 3 cups all-purpose flour. So you need to do this 3 times again. To save yourself a bit of a mess, it's easy to scoop it in, and then we can just brush off any excess that we have. Do you need me to hold it lower for you?
No, I'm good.
Alright.
Thank you.
1.
Ooh, it looks like a snowball.
So to avoid cross-contamination and to prevent some particles of her flour coming into mine, I'm going to use a separate measuring cup. So my gluten-free flour is right here. I'm using gluten-free all-purpose flour, just like that was all-purpose flour. And this also happens to be a 1-to-1 substitute for conventional flour. So if you see a recipe that calls for conventional powder, conventional flour, sorry. However much regular flour you need, you would use the same amount of this. So I also could add salt to this, but again, since I use salted butter, I'm not going to put any extra salt in. I want my cookies to be sweet, not salty. And I need 2 cups of gluten-free flour. So I'm using a 1/2 cup, so I'm going to scoop and dump in 4 times. Here. All right, so I'm gonna put this on the stand mixer, and then we're going to incorporate yours.
Okay.
All right, so my stand mixer also has a kind of splash guard. So if you're working with a lot of liquid or a lot of powdery things that might go flying all over the place when you put the mixer on, you can put the splash guard on to try to contain your mess. And the nice thing about the stand mixers is that it also has a little hole here, so in case I need to keep adding ingredients as the stand mixer is going, I can just tip them into this hole right here. So because I've got a lot of flour, I'm going to put the splash guard on, put my attachment back on, and mix at a low speed. So now, I'm gonna come back here. So for yours specifically, we're going to gradually add the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients and kind of mix as we go. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna tip a little bit of this into there.
Okay.
Tip a little more. Like this. All right, so we're gonna do this part by hand because I feel like it's just a bit easier to mix your wet and dry ingredients together like this. So I'm gonna get it started for you. And the more you add, the tougher it's going to be to mix a little bit. So also, again, make sure you scrape the sides as you go. All right, we're gonna make sure we incorporate just about everything that we've added.
You know, every time you say incorporate, it sounds like Monsters Inc. And I could just hear it like, Monsters Incorporated.
Liz's recipe actually says that you don't need to chill the dough, so as soon as she's done, we're going to start rolling out. But mine needs to sit in the fridge for about half an hour. So since my dough is finished, thanks to my beautiful stand mixer, I'm going to put mine in the fridge, and Liz is going to continue mixing hers. Carry on.
Mix it all up.
Have you incorporated most of your dry ingredient mixture?
I think so. It looks very gooey.
Alright, now you're gonna put more in.
Jeez. I think I'm gonna end up with more flour on me than in the bowl.
Keep it from falling on itself and take it over my bowl. I'm going to cut it now because I'm so horrible at using the cutter on the box. It just ends up being a complete nightmare. How you doing, Liz?
What's up?
I'm just wrapping this so that I can go chill it in the fridge. Did you incorporate all of that? More. You gotta do the whole thing.
Fluff it. Oh. If you don't tell anyone, I just spilled a lot. Shh.
Liz is at the point where she's added all her dry ingredients, so it may be a little more strenuous to mix everything together. So you don't want your dough to look too crumbly. You want it to be mixing and holding to sticking to itself pretty well. If you've got too many crumbs, you want to keep mixing. All right, I think we may be able to go roll this out.
Okay, so that's what it looks like.
It looks pretty together.
And it looks like a lot of hard work right there. That.
Baking is love made edible. Lots of love put in.
So now we're at the table to roll out our dough and cut out our shapes.
So before you put your dough on the silicone mat, what you're going to do is you're going to take some flour and you're going to sprinkle it across the mat. You don't need a lot, you just want to lightly cover the mat. Putting flour on helps to keep the dough from sticking to the mat. Now take about a third of the dough and scoop it onto the mat. Our dough's kind of crumbly, so we're going to squish it together a little bit first before we roll it out. Now take the rolling pin and cover that in flour. This way it doesn't stick to the rolling pin either. As you go, you may need to put more flour on the mat or flour on the rolling pin. You're gonna roll the dough out so it's about 1/4 of an inch thick. And you wanna make sure that it's equal, that the thickness is even across it. Otherwise, we're gonna end up with some pretty little lopsided cookies. So now you're gonna take your shape and now cut it up. All right, now put him on the sheet and poke him out. All right, so your cookies look pretty good. They look nicely spaced. And hopefully they won't spread too much in the oven.
So for my cookies, we're gonna put them in the oven for 6 to 8 minutes, and for the gluten-free, it'll be 10 to 12.
All right, now I'm gonna check on my cookies and see if they're done. Oh yeah. So my cookies have started to brown a little bit around the edges, which means that they're done. If you're ever not sure if your cookies are done, it's always best to check a little bit earlier than the time the instructions say. When you take your cookies out, if you leave them on the hot baking sheet for a little bit, they'll bake for a little more minutes while the tray cools. All right, now we are finally ready to start decorating these cookies. And we're gonna get judged on how nicely we decorate, and then of course the quality of our cookies. Mine are better. All right, I wanna do a gingerbread person first.
Thanks. Mine aren't that holiday themed, but that's okay. But Jess is gonna try our cookies and give the final verdict
on taste and design.
Oh God. Okay, so now I'm going to be trying these beautiful cookies. Yay. Well, first of all, just in terms of design, I really do like Josephine's Heat Signature reindeer. I really do enjoy this one. The ornament is probably the best designed cookie that we have, that these two have made. This one freaks me out just a little bit. She tried to draw a heart in the middle and it just looks very scary. In terms of Liz, her watermelon colored dinosaur is cool, but not Christmas, not holiday themed, so.
Do you consider pink a shade of red? It is.
Yeah, no, I don't. The star she made looks really cool, but also disgusting. Her snowman is very sad. He does not seem to have any buttons or clothes.
He's a ghost.
He's a ghost. The teddy bear is a little freaky too, not gonna lie. Yeah, so in terms of appearance, Liz really got like 1 out of 4 looking good, and Josephine got 2 out of 3. So therefore, Josephine wins in appearances. And now I'm going to take a bite out of one of each, right?
Yeah.
Oh God. Okay, ghost snowman.
Bite his head off.
I think it's a little salty.
A little salty.
Yeah, a little bit, but the icing is really good. So the icing will be good on both of you. I really love the Heat Signature reindeer. His head is going for it. Obviously, they both made the icing, so the icing is good on both these cookies. But this is a little thicker, and so a little crispier, and I like crispier cookies, so.
Can you taste a difference between gluten-free and gluten-full?
Yes, but not by much, honestly, and the icing makes them taste the same. So, very close, very close. Little dry. This has a little bit more not dryness to it, but it wasn't even close though because her style is so much better. So Josephine wins, obviously, mostly because of this beautiful design.
So, I'm so glad I won, but this was still a really fun experience, win or lose, and I'm glad we got to do this together.
I know I went off the rails and it's
For your first time baking, I think you did a pretty good job.
Thank you. So that's that. That's our bake-off. Josephine won. And if you liked our video, give us a like and subscribe for more how-tos. We might be baking, might be shipping, might be doing cosplay things, who knows? But stay tuned. And be sure to comment your own baking experiences or what you thought of our baking experience. And yeah, stay tuned for more.
Thanks for watching.